Welcome back to React Native Radio Podcast. This episode brought to you by Hugs. We could all use a few extra hugs right now. Episode 228, React Native 0.67.
So are you guys playing Wordle?
Yes, totally obsessed with it.
Feels like everybody's playing Wordle.
Besides me.
Except John Major, who doesn't play Wordle.
There are a lot of new spin-offs, which are really cool to follow.
I've noticed that. The original isn't good enough anymore.
Yeah.
As always.
What spin-offs have you seen recently?
So I've played 3 others. I've played Nerdle, which is Wordle, but with math, and it's pretty cool.
How does that work?
You basically have to put together a formula with I believe it's 9 boxes. So, 12 plus 34 equals...
Yes, yeah, I already would fail.
Okay, I have to check this out.
Yeah.
Nerdle.
Similar to Nerdle, so math. And then,
Interesting.
Robin, you led me on to Worldle.
Yeah, so there's one called Worldle,
Yes.
which is really hard to say, but it's geography. I think they're all place names.
Yeah, you pick a country and then it tells you how far off in kilometers or miles you are. And it tells you the direction you need to go to get to that country. So if you like geography, that's a really cool one.
Interesting.
I'll have to check that. It seems like making a Wordle clone is going to be the new, make a Hacker News clone or a Twitter clone. If you're just trying to build a little app.
This morning, I got an article from Mashable of a new Wordle spinoff where you're trying to solve 4 words at the same time with 9 tries. So you have 4 grids going on at the same time. And when you type a word...
that's just getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's
called,
simmer down a little bit.
It's called Quordle.
This is what I do at 6 a.m. when I first wake up. Original Wordle is about my speed.
I think I should create one called Gurgle.
Gurgle.
There you go.
Or Girdle. Maybe not. Our listeners may have caught on already to the fact that we're missing somebody. Jamon is not here. He is, I think, leaving on vacation with his family, going somewhere fun. I think he said something about a cabin. So we're all very jealous and we'll be very happy when he comes back. But for today, I guess that makes me your host. And do I also get to be the CTO?
Yeah.
Can I?
CTO for the day.
Can I call myself CTO?
Let's do it.
I'm going to do it. CTO for the day. And of course, I'm joined by my loyal co-hosts, John Major and Mazen.
I'll stay
I should bow down.
That-
I'm not worthy.
That was not a dig at Jamon at all. I promise. John Major, you live in Janesville, Wisconsin, and you're a senior software engineer here at Infinite Red. You're also the editor-in-chief of the React Native newsletter. What's up, John Major?
Not too much. Haven't been around, I think, in the, past couple episodes I haven't been here?
Yeah, we've missed you. We're glad to have you back on the mic.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Mazen Chami. He lives in Durham, North Carolina, and he's a former pro soccer player and coach, and also a senior React Native engineer here at Infinite Red. How are you doing, Mazen?
Doing well. Got all my games done except for Wordle this morning, so...
Except for the original Wordle.
Yeah, busy morning.
I'll do that one later. I took 6 tries this morning, so hopefully you do better than I did. And before we get into our topic for today, I do have to mention, of course, that this episode is sponsored by Infinite Red. Infinite Red is a premier React Native design and development agency located fully remote in the US and Canada. If you're looking for React Native expertise for your next React Native project, hit us up. You can learn more at our website, infinite.red/reactnative. And of course, don't forget to mention that you heard about us on the React Native Radio podcast. And also, Jamon told me I had to mention that we are, of course, still hiring for senior React Native engineers. Go to careers.infinite.red and fill out the form if you'd like to work with us. So let's get into our topic for today. Today, we're going to go over the new React Native release. React Native 67 came out not too long ago. And we like to just go through some of the highlights so you don't have to read the changelog, we did that for you. We'll go through some of the highlights and just talk about what's new in this release. Just looking at the blog post that comes out with every release, there's not too much that's huge that changed. I think the biggest thing is that Android date picker was removed from React Native Core.
Yeah.
As part of the Lean Core initiative. So if you need to use the date picker on Android, I think that means you need to import it from a separate package. I don't know what the new package is, but I'm guessing it's React Native.
Community, probably.
Yeah, Community Android date picker.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the show notes. Hey Mazen, what stood out to you from this release?
Not much other than the date picker, because I feel like that's a breaking change right now. But there is a bunch of other stuff in the deeper changelog other than the blog post. If you are using the action sheet for iOS, you now have the ability to tint your cancel button tint color. I used tint one too many times.
Now, what do you think you would tint it to other than red?
I know, right? It seems weird, but I think you have the ability on Android. So it's kind of converging both platforms now to give you that ability. I don't know if anyone, maybe if you have
I'm curious what the use case would be for that.
Yeah.
Colorblind friendly, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, not sure there. But there's that. There is this other one that I've noticed popping up a lot in the current project I'm working in. And they renamed a deprecated library, which I don't know why they would go through the trouble of renaming it instead of just removing it at this point. But keyboard.removeEventListener is now keyboard.removeListener.
So it's a deprecated
Yes.
function, but they renamed it.
Mm-hmm. You'll get the warning. You'll get the yellow warning box that it's deprecated, and you kind of have to fix the name or else you kind of get an error. So kind of weird, but getting there. I wonder where that's going to go to eventually after completely removing it.
But yeah, well, I wonder how long they'll leave it deprecated before they completely...
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like they're probably going to support it for a while if they care enough about what it's named.
Yeah, exactly.
I also noticed image background now respects image style, width, and height. So if you don't know, image background is a component that puts an image behind all of your other content, which I remember from the old days, you used to have to sort of finagle an image with like absolute positioning, and it was always kind of wonky. So they introduced the image background component a couple years ago.
That's actually kind of nice, though.
It is.
Coming from like web, you have like the background image in CSS. So it's nice that there's that in React Native.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever used it? I've used it a
couple times. I'm pretty sure we use it in Ignite.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, yeah. The Bowser.
Bowser's, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice to just have that like watermark, I guess, essentially in the background. So yeah, I've used that a bunch of times and I really like that component.
Our designers tend to use it for gradient backgrounds or other sort of like textured backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like an image, like, because that would be pretty busy, but for sort of more subtle backgrounds that are hard to do with just background colors. So yeah, now image background respects width and height, which apparently it didn't before. So those are, I think, the cross-platform changes, at least the most prominent cross-platform changes. Let's see what's iOS specific.
I have one.
Sure.
So remove alerts window when called to hide. That was a fix for iOS. So it appeared that it was fixed a while ago, and there's a new fix to it. And basically the problem was you had to set the property to yes on UI window. And this appeared to be not set to yes. And now it is. So the remove alert window does get removed. And so basically what was happening when the alert did go away, there was a window that was left that was hidden, but it was capturing all events. So that's now fixed for iOS.
Seems like a pretty good cleanup to help performance and make sure there's nothing hanging on the UI, which is pretty cool.
And we should note that that's actually a change that came in 67.1.
Oh, right.
Rather than 67.0. But I think we're up to 67.2 now. So the latest version should have that. I also noticed a fix for how long we wait if the packager can't be reached. It used to be 60 seconds, and now it's 10 seconds. So that's a nice little developer experience. So you're not sitting there for a whole minute before you realize that the packager is dead. So that was a cool change.
I have one for text input. Have you guys ever like pressed down the space bar to get to move to a different part of your input quicker?
I know you can do that. Like I've heard that that's a thing. I have yet to sort of develop the muscle memory for that.
Yeah, I use that all the time.
I don't think I'm aware of this. So you tap the space bar?
Yeah, let's say you're in the middle of your string or even a multi-line input, which is what this is kind of about. And let's say you want to go down 3 lines. Instead of using your finger to then tap down 3 lines, sometimes it's hard to kind of get precisely where you want. So if you press and hold the space bar, what happens is the cursor turns like a lighter gray. It looks like it's kind of floating. It's like a ghost, essentially. And then you can essentially just kind of move your finger on the screen and it'll just move quicker to where you want it to go.
Gotcha. Yeah. For some reason, when you said spacebar originally, I was thinking of like my spacebar on my like keyboard that I use for my Mac OS machine. But no, I totally get it now.
Okay, so I pulled open Slack on my phone just to try this.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't, maybe Slack has like a different command for this, but like when I try to swipe on the space bar, it shuffles through the various the autocorrect suggestions.
What phone do you have?
iPhone 13.
Maybe that was taken away in 13 because I have a 12 and I'm able to do that.
Yeah, it works on mine too.
Wait, it has to be multi-line?
It doesn't have to be multi-line. That's the pretty cool part of it. Just hold on to it and just...
Oh, wait. Oh, there it is. Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that life-changing?
It's literally like you have a mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
So nice.
I love that. I use that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, coming back to React Native. If you are on iOS 14 and above and using previous version, I guess 66 at this point, of React Native, you'll notice when you use this feature, the cursor, what they called jerks. So it doesn't give that, it's not steady. It's almost like bouncing once you do that.
Mm-hmm.
iOS 13 and below worked fine. So there is a fix now when you're moving the cursor to have that not animate, I believe, is what they're doing. So kind of gives that better user experience at the end of the day. So simple change, probably the longest one we're talking about here, but it's a cool feature. If you don't know about it, use it. It helps.
Yeah.
I feel like I type faster using it.
For real. Doesn't Android have that too?
Yes, I believe so.
Of course, Android always has everything first.
That is true.
But then iOS does it better. I don't want to start a phone preference war here, but
iOS is better. Yeah.
iOS usually does
Agreed.
it better. Let's see what's next. On iOS, looks like they fixed image default source not showing. So while the image was being downloaded, it didn't show the default source. It would only show it after it failed. So this fixes it so that it shows it while the image is downloading, which is kind of the point of that prop. It looks like this was a bug introduced just like a couple versions ago, and it did work before that. So this fixes that.
I just noticed that they mentioned that it was introduced somewhere between 63 and 65. I like that they included that bit because that helps me know, like if I'm on 62, it helps me know like, this doesn't
I don't
really
need to like rush to upgrade.
Exactly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I like that feature.
Are we on an Android?
Yes.
Yeah. So that obviously I don't think we touched on all of the iOS changes, but those are the ones that sort of jumped out at us as being significant.
Yeah.
Android had quite a few as well. Looks like setting overflow scroll in a view component style will clip the children in the view container. I think previously it only did that if you did overflow hidden, I believe.
Yes.
And now it does it on overflow scroll as well.
Similar to that about scrolling, I saw one where the scroll view, or I believe all other virtualized list related items, when you use the scroll to position, instead of actually just scrolling to it, if you are at that position, it'll check for it. So I think that's pretty cool performance. Like, don't cause an animation if you don't have to. I know it's not much. I mean, it's not going to scroll any pixels, but by checking that before moving, we limit what's going to happen.
Oh, I see. So if you were already at the position where you were telling it to scroll to, it would run a bunch of logic to try and scroll to that position. So even though there would be no animation, it was doing stuff.
It will look like nothing really happened, but something is happening. We're using we're using memory from the app, essentially. Fun fact, I am working on rewriting something to use just a native flat list for a horizontal list where, if we do something on another page and we come to it, we want to essentially scroll to a certain index. I'm seeing a lot of bouncing happening, and I assume it has to do with this. So I might have to put a check to see, are we at that position? Don't scroll to it. So
Nice little performance improvement there.
mhm.
That's the kind of like little hidden thing that could be slowing your app down.
Oh, this next one is that weird one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So I haven't really noticed it, but I thought it was really cool that they found that someone found this, but I don't know who found it. On Android nested text, if you have an on-press handler, it will register the on-press for all characters except for the last character. So let's say we have hello, and then within hello we have world nested. And when you click world, we want to fire off some fireworks. If you were to click the D of world, nothing would happen.
interesting.
So there's a fix for that.
That's a really difficult one to find. I would imagine it had to have been from like the mouse of like debugging on a simulator, because a finger finding that, that's a small finger. That's
Exactly. Like
very
for
accurate.
me, I would have never
Yeah.
gotten that because I feel like half the time I'll be clicking on something and I click the other thing and it's like, okay.
Same here. I fat
It's-
finger everything.
It's
Mhm.
interesting what a different experience we have as developers using simulators and emulators where
Mhm.
we're clicking around with a mouse and typing on a physical keyboard. And it's really easy to forget to like use a physical device because the UX can be very different.
100%.
And this is actually a case where a user probably would never have experienced this bug, but
There is a GIF in the pull request of like showing it actually working.
really,
So it's pretty cool how you get to see that it doesn't work. I think the person was just doing like a console warn on the click callback on the on press, and you can see it in the first one not working, and then after the fix, it actually working. So
wow. Well, kudos to who's the author of that one?
I can't say it.
can't pronounce it.
Fabrizio Bertolio, 1987. Whoever you are, nice catch. Let's see. Added a new permission to Permissions Android called Access Media Location, but we should note that it is marked as a dangerous permission in the Android docs. So I think it
Is that like a fine permission, like an exact location?
allows an application to access any geographic locations persisted in the user's shared collection, whatever that means. But it seems like a very invasive level of permission. So use it wisely, but now you can access it through React Native.
What is privacy?
For real.
What is privacy anyway?
So Hermes initialization will no longer need an explicit configuration. And so for this one, currently React Native on Android passes an explicit Hermes config, which initializes Hermes. But it looks like the upcoming version will no longer need any sort of initialization.
It just works.
Just works.
Hashtag. It just
Hashtag
works.
just works.
Out of the box. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. On to the next one. Another one from our friend Fabrizio Bertogli, 1987. Another quirky selection of text, but this time nested in a flat list. The fix is called Fix Non-Selectable Text in Flat List. And I believe where he's getting at with this is the changing of the selectable prop on a text view. He now fixed that so you can actually select a specific piece of text within the flat list. So another edge case, good catch.
Yeah. This dev is all about precision.
Looks like this person has one more. On key press event not fired. Oh yeah, on key press event not fired with numeric keys. I remember seeing that one.
Yeah. Okay, Fabrizio.
Is this person a QA engineer? Because it seems like that's something QA would find.
Yeah.
Just going ham on the keyboard trying to find bugs.
Mm-hmm.
But we appreciate the work to make React Native better. Anything else that stood out to us for Android?
There's one more that we have on the list, align items baseline for text elements on Android. So that's now fixed. So it appears that before, align items baseline for text elements was just not working.
What does it do? I've never actually used align items baseline.
Yeah, so align items baseline would put the text on the bottom of, say, like the view. versus like there's baseline and there's start right or start left.
So is it kind of similar to how you would use start and end versus right and left? Is baseline kind of like...
but it's vertical. Baseline would be vertical.
Okay, this is the vertical version of that.
Yeah.
So instead of saying top and bottom, you'd say baseline and equivalent for the top.
Yeah, I can't think of the equivalent right now.
If you look at the PR, there's an image of the after, and that image is actually very helpful where this person has the numbers 9 to 0, where they're in decreasing font size, and where he has the baseline, line items baseline, and you can kind of see that regardless of the height, they're all aligned to the bottom of the baseline.
Right.
And if you look at the before,
they're
basically just kind of aligned. The view that the text is in is aligned to the bottom of the wrapper view. Baseline will take the text
interesting
to be the bottom, so the bottom of the text.
Today I learned. Okay.
Yeah.
That's very useful. Oh, cool. So that is fixed now on Android.
And that's helpful because we do a lot of line heights for different texts. So the ability to still, instead of, I'm guessing most of the time people would do align items flex end or something.
Right.
And that wouldn't necessarily align, have to do some clipping along the way. This fixes that.
Yeah. This handles the case where you have mixed line heights in the same line, basically. Awesome. So I think that hits everything that really stood out to us. Obviously, that was not there was more in the changelog than just those items. A lot of them were sort of more maybe small or really buried deep in the belly of React Native where the average user wouldn't maybe care so much. So there's definitely more. We'll link the full changelog in the show notes for sure, so you can check it out yourself. But that was everything that sort of stood out to us. Mazen, do we have a weird bug today?
We do. Speaking of all these weird bugs that we've found in this version fixed.
This whole show is kind of the weird bug show.
Yeah. This weird bug comes to us from Lizzie Lindbo, who works at Infinite Red. She posted, just ran into this issue with TalkBack, where navigation from the end of a horizontal scroll view doesn't work correctly if it's nested inside a vertical one. And then she linked to a React Native issue, which we'll link in the show notes. But from looking at this issue, unlike most weird bugs, I don't think we really have a solution for this yet. I think it's one of those things where if you are working on accessibility, which I think everyone should, keep this in mind and, make sure you look into it. One thing to note is this was encountered, and Lizzie mentioned this in the issue, this was encountered on React Native 66.4 with an Android 11. So it is on the latest.
It's not fixed.
And it's not fixed yet.
Hey, React, maybe we'll be talking about the fix for that in React Native 68.
Who knows?
Who knows?
This is your opportunity, folks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps it up for us today. A nice little short and sweet show for us today. If you'd like to nerd out more about React Native, check out Jamon's Twitch stream, rn.live, or youtube.infinite.red. I think he streams on Mondays and Fridays, I believe. And he also tweets every time he goes live. Those streams are really fun. A lot of times, even if he's just doing sort of like daily open source maintenance work, it's really fun to just go hang out with him. And he's been doing a great job with those streams. So go check those out. Mazen and John Major, where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Mazen Chami.
And at John Major C.
And of course, I'm at Robin_Hines with an E at the end. And you can follow React Native Radio at React Native RDIO. As always, thanks to our producer and editor, Todd Worth, our assistant editor and episode release coordinator, Jed Bartosky, our social media coordinator, Missy Warren, our designer, Justin Husky, and our guest coordinator, Derek Greenberg. Thanks to our sponsor, Infinite Red. Check us out at infinite.red/React Native. And a special thanks to everyone listening today. Make sure to subscribe on all the major podcasting platforms. Just a reminder that we are hiring React Native engineers. So if you're a senior level React Native engineer located in the US or Canada, go to careers.infinite.red. We will see you all next time.
See ya.